Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. The show, I speak with Andrew Pryor. Andrew Pryor is originally from Sydney, Australia, but he has ping-ponged back and forth between Australia and France, and now he calls France home full-time, where he offers his own podcast on French cooking and all things related to cooking, as well as his own YouTube channel. We talk about his life in France and how food has influenced his life. So welcome to the show, Andrew. I've heard nothing but wonderful things about you and your fabulous life in France, but I want to get started with what brought you here originally. So let's just jump right into your Paris story.
Oh, merci beaucoup for having me on. Well, my Paris story, it's a story of, what is it? What should we say? Love. No, it's a love of Paris. I fell in love with Paris. My husband came here in 2012 for his PhD and studied at Sciences Po. And at that time, you weren't allowed to be married in Australia. So I came on on a cultural visa, which meant I wasn't allowed to work. So I know it's terrible. I had to walk around Paris for a year and
hang
just
out.
do things and hang out. And that was I just fell in love. I'd been here a couple of times before, but not had that experience. And I was very, very lucky and just fell in love with Paris, as so many people do.
I love that you fell in love with Paris. It was the same story for me. Like, people were like, oh, you moved here for like a man. I was like, no, I moved here for Paris. I'm in love with Paris.
I already had the man.
Yeah, exactly. And so he finished his degree. You guys went back to Australia, and then you were on MasterChef Australia. Like, how the heck did that happen? That's amazing.
I know, it was pretty amazing. I often say it was the best thing I'd ever done in my life and the worst thing I've ever done in my life. It's a combination of both. And so, yeah, it really was an amazing experience. It changed my life. And if it wasn't for watching a little old ad on the telly whilst I was watching The Bold and the Beautiful, would you believe? If they hadn't seen that ad, I wouldn't have applied and wouldn't have gotten on. But yeah, it was a great experience. It was very rewarding for me, the actual creativity side of it. So I wasn't really being that competitive, but I loved the idea of actually creating things from, recipes and things like that and cooking for people, but also seeing, which would lead to things that would happen later in life, seeing the actual studio process and the filming process and the cameraman and all of those sort of things. I really got into that scene and loved it. TV presenting and all of those things.
Yeah, and it kind of helps you now for your own podcast and your own YouTube channel, like getting ideas about how to shoot, produce, and things like that.
Exactly. I mean, I had no idea. I was an insurance broker, and an underwriter. I did that for 20 years. I fell in love with spreadsheets, would you believe?
Oh my goodness.
I know. Not many people say that, do they? But you know what? There's nothing wrong with people that fall in love with spreadsheets. I'm just saying.
Nothing wrong with that. We need two people. I need two people.
I know. Yes.
So you had always had a love of cooking. I mean, obviously you were an insurance broker, but where did food come into all of this?
I think for me, food is definitely ties back to sort of validation. My mum wasn't the best cook. She was half Italian and half Czechoslovakian, and she did not get the Italian side of cooking. I'm not sure what Slovakian or Czech Republic food is like. I haven't been. I need to go. But my mum wasn't a great representation of it. So she used to boil everything with salt. But I know. But I fell in love with Nigella Lawson and her cooking, Jamie Oliver, those people, and just started from there, watching them on telly and then wanting to cook. And then when I moved out of home, I was cooking for other people and they liked it. And I found that sort of validating. I'd had body issues and all those things like many people do, and was very insecure when I was younger. And I just found validation from people loving my food and loving what I was cooking for them. And that in turn led me to a love of food. I love all food, actually. If what's that saying? I see food and I eat it. So that's definitely my story with food. I just love it. I love to cook it, and especially French food, of course. That's sort of my passion.
Yeah, so it was kind of just like a fun little side passion that you've turned into a full-time career now
I
in Paris,
know.
now that you've returned to France. So talk a little bit about that. So you went home, you did MasterChef, you had to leave because of an injury, and then you started
Yes.
thinking about Paris again.
Yeah, so I set up a food tour business actually in Melbourne. And then, because our plan originally was to come back straight away, we were going to sell our house and get the dogs and come back to France as soon as Peter finished his PhD. But with me going on the show, we decided to stick around for a little bit. And I started a food tour business in Melbourne. And that was really great and very successful. Walking tours. I ended up having staff and tours every day. And then people were asking me, "We'd love you to show us France." So I thought, okay, well, I'll start tours to France. And that was why we moved back to France, because that first tour that I did, that was in 2015. We were here doing the tour, and on our flight back from Paris, we both looked at each other and said, "What are we doing? Why aren't we living here? That's what we wanted to do. It's just because I went on a TV show and set up a business. Why aren't we back here in France?" So that was the push, was to go back. And when I arrived, I tried to run the business from Melbourne for about a year and found that a bit hard. And
Yeah.
that's when I got into the video process and was started doing videos, because I thought that was found that was really sparking my creative interests.
Mhm.
Showing people Paris, showing people France through videos. They were quirky, they were fun. I just researched everything I could about how to do YouTube videos. I'm no photographer, not like yourself. I mean, I've seen your work. It's amazing. If you want to come down and do some photographs of me anytime and the dogs, that's great. I'm sure you could actually even give me hair. But with the because listeners, just so that you know, I'm actually bald. That's why I referenced, or as I like to say, follically challenged. So yeah, so I really loved that sort of creative process, got really into that. And then we had a little thing called the pandemic, and that sort of changed things again. I had to pivot again, and that led me to the podcast, which I think was your original question, your question before about, was that
Yeah,
right? That
I mean,
podcast?
just to
Yes.
like your journey here and like making a living here. I mean, so many
Yeah.
people dream of, doing their passion as a job and making money. And do you have any advice for that? I mean, you've turned food into your job and specifically French food and tours and videos. So like what advice would you give to other people trying to, make their passion their job? Is it bad to do that? Do you lose the joy when you
No.
start making money from it, or how do you feel?
No, and I'm very lucky to be able to do that. I do know that, because I've lived so long, much of my life, pretty much the first 20 years of my life, working life, that is, not doing that. So I do understand how you might not be able to make your passion your job. I think that for me, the best bit of advice I could give somebody is to not give up, and also to do lots of research, and but also just do it. So there's three things: don't give up, just do it, and do lots of research.
Mhm.
I had no idea how to do videos on YouTube, but I did them so that I could to get people to do my tours.
Yeah.
And that was what I was focused on. So I didn't do videos and then decide, oh, I'm going to do tours and that's how I'm going to make money from doing the videos.
Yeah.
I did the opposite. I knew that was, I sort of looked at it as a free way of marketing
Yeah.
what I was doing, and that did really work. And I think that one of the great things about doing your passion as your job is that it really resonates with people and people connect to that. And so you don't need to be, I'm in no way a influencer, and there's nothing wrong with influencers, but you don't need to be an influencer when you're creative. You just need to be passionate and feel what you do, and then people will resonate with that. And those is it there's a what's that guy's name? Oh, Gary V, I can't remember his last name. I listened to one of his podcasts. I could only listen to one, but luckily enough it was a good one. And he said that, your first 100 customers, they're with you for life. And that's what you get when you do your passion project. You get people that are really connected to you. Those first 100 people are going to be with you forever.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's so important just to get people to know that you're loving something and then they get excited about it too. And like you said, like you don't need to be an influencer. I think we put too much pressure on ourselves to be like the most
Yes.
well known, the most famous. And it's like even if you can get 100 people to really commit to you and really buy your products, who knows what could happen? I think that's great advice.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never worried about how many followers I have had, even though I've been on reality TV. What I've worried about is how many people have connected with me. I do often worry about, like, if somebody's not sent me a message or written a comment on social media after I've posted something that day or the next day, I go, oh my God, what have I done? Like, why are people not connecting with me? Don't worry about followers. I've just worried about people connecting. So
Yeah.
that's what I do these things for. It's also why I love about the podcast. I get to connect with people on a different level, like you do, and chat to people that I would never have chatted to before. Or if I did, it might have been that I just met them at a dinner party, and I thought they were really interesting, and that was about it. But this way, through the podcast, I get to record and talk to people about subjects that I love, which is food, French food.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about how you do your research. So when you're doing the podcast, when you're interviewing people about French food or you're making new videos about things people need to visit, like how do you choose which place you're going to go to? How do you even find these places?
Oh, that's a good one. So it is definitely about just what I love. And so I just look into things that I love and then find people that have, in some way have a connection to that thing. So, but also, can I just say, a great way of connecting with people is through other people. Because especially when it's around food, and I'm sure with other creativity things, I'm sure it's probably the same around, if you're a painter, you would know other painters. If you're a writer, you'd know other writers. When you're in food, you know other food producers, other chefs, etc. So it's really about just connecting with those people and asking them to share some experiences with us. So I often don't research the actual topic. I research the actual people more than I do the topic, and then ask those people to, what topic would you like to do? What are you most passionate about
Mhm.
that's revolved around French food?
And so how have you been influenced by France? I mean, obviously it's been life changing for you, but how has it changed you as a person from moving here?
Oh, that's such a good question. Can I just say, especially now, and especially during after the pandemic, well, not after, we're still going through the pandemic, but after the last 2 years that we've had here, we moved to our French home, our country home, sorry, now from Paris, the day of confinement, would you believe? And so we arrived it's actually a
Wow.
town of 6,000 people. But when we moved here, we were first 3 months not allowed to go outside of the house unless you were walking the dog. So luckily we had a dog. So, but we saw the same six people for 3 months every day, and just walking their dogs in the town. And now to look back, it's such a wonderful place. There's so many people here that live here and live in this area, and I really feel that France has changed me. It's made me, I would say, a lot more. not to get political, but it's maybe a lot more socialist in my values, caring for the other, caring for a fellow man, that sort of thing. I really do. It's strange to say this as an Australian, but coming here, those are the parts of France that I really, really love. The way they look after their fellow man and how that is even in laws and it's in society and it's the way that they just go about their lives. And I think the pandemic and the confinements and all the things that we went through were a really good example of that. How, especially getting news from Australia and how Australian politics was dealing with politicians were dealing with things as opposed to the way that the French government were dealing with things. And that's definitely changed my views on a lot of issues.
Yeah, when you
Yes.
talk about socialist values, like, do you mean like the healthcare? Like, elaborate a little
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But I think it even comes down to just the way people treat each other.
more.
It's the healthcare, it's the social security, all of those sorts of things I think that are definitely important. But there was a comment made by, I think, Macron, which probably sums it up. I like to say actually it's macaroon or macaron, not Macron. Um, is what I like to call him. But he made the comment about how we need to, as a society, uh, be better at looking after the people that have supported us. And he mentioned people like people that work in supermarkets that were still working in the supermarket during confinement whilst we were all at home. They were putting, we often think about people putting themselves at risk is people that are policemen and people work in hospitals and firemen. But these people during that time, they were putting themselves at risk being there at a supermarket in order to serve us.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to look at society. It is, those people should be treated a lot better than what society does treat them.
Mhm.
And it's just a shame that it was the pandemic that took people to recognize that. But I just love the way that France looks at those sorts of things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as a small business owner myself, I feel the same way. I'm like, I know I can get sick and I'll be okay. That was a really big draw for me coming from America and being a freelancer, having that healthcare.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's just nice to know, we're thinking of the fellow man, and that's very
Yeah.
socialized as well. But I want you to elaborate a little bit about your podcast and your
Oh,
YouTube
yes.
channel. Like, tell listeners what it's about.
So my podcast is Fabulously Delicious, the French food podcast. And so it is about French food. And each week we dive into a specific topic, be it a French dish, cooking technique, an ingredient. And I talk to an expert or lover of that topic. And it's split in two halves. The first half, we chat about the person, find out their sort of food journey, their influences and things like that in food. Also, their love of France, if they've ever lived here or if they just have visited, that sort of thing. I love it when I speak to actual French people because then we hear these lovely stories about living in France, whether it's, people that have lived in, say, Paris, for an example, growing up. And it's really interesting to hear that when you're a kid in Paris, you don't really live in Paris. You live in your area, your not even just your arrondissement, but just in your sort of local area where your school is, your house is. That's sort of about it. And then to actually, then also to have French people that have they just say, oh yes, where did you grow up? And they'll name some town and, oh, can you describe the town for me? Oh yes, it's got a 12th century castle in the middle of the town. This is where you grew up. In Australia, we've got nothing that was 12th century. So,
Yeah, it's just very casual,
um,
very
yes.
normalized.
Exactly. So I love chatting about those sorts of things. And then in the second half, we focus on a specific topic. And we dive into that, talk about its history, recipes, variations, all sorts of things. And I just love it because it's great to get to chat to people about just one specific thing and dive into it. That's really fabulous. And then my YouTube, it's been a journey, and definitely the podcast is, I feel a bit more at home in now, but I am starting to get back into the YouTube. But I did do Paris videos for 2.5 years, nearly 3 years, whilst we were living in Paris. And then in the confinement, I sort of changed that up to do a few cooking videos
Mhm.
and things. But it's amazing to see now. It's still, I haven't done a video and I think just on a year now, and I am have plans to get back into them, especially the cooking. I love the cooking videos.
Yeah.
But it's amazing that people still are watching the YouTube videos on Paris, and I still get inquiries. And that's why I did it. I did it to promote doing tours and itineraries for people, which I'm not doing anymore. But I am still getting inquiries for that.
Wow.
So if there's anybody out there that wants me to send them some people that want to know what to do in Paris when they come visit, let me know,
Oh,
because I'll send them your way. But yeah, it's really fabulous to see that still people are still watching my videos on how to enter the Louvre, or
yeah.
what to do in the Marais, that sort of thing.
Yeah, people are hungry for that content and they come here and they have so little time. They want to make sure they use it to the best of their ability. So it's nice to have those insider tips. And
Yeah.
while we're on the subject of insider tips, what are your top three favorite restaurants in Paris? You have to pick just three.
That's a good one. Oh my gosh, just three.
Yeah, just three.
Okay. Well, there is a fabulous place. I totally forgot the arrondissement, but we will look it up.
Yeah.
Le Bon Georges.
Uh-huh.
It's a wonderful. It almost feels like not. I wouldn't say a pub, but it almost feels like a sort of like if you went to a pub restaurant or something in the UK, but it's all just French
Yeah.
and very seasonal, fabulous food. The chef there is, the owners are pretty fabulous, and the chef is as well. And they just make delicious food. I'm pretty sure, but we could. I don't know if you've got show notes or something, you can put
Yeah,
it
we
in, but
do.
I'm pretty sure it's in the eighth, but I might be wrong. I always get the eighth confused,
Well, it's a
with the arrondissement, so I always get that. But we'll look that up, Le Bon Georges.
yeah.
Um, Another favorite of mine, and there's now a few of them. I think there's three in Paris now, and that is Miznon, which is Israeli food. And oh my gosh, the first one that opened is in the Marais, and it's just around the corner from where all the falafel restaurants are
Yeah.
in the Marais. And so everybody goes and lines up at those falafel restaurants to get what the tourists place books tell you is the best falafel. But I say it's at Miznon. They do amazing kebabs. No chips as a side. It's
Uh-huh.
just the kebab. They even do a bœuf bourguignon kebab,
Oh,
which
yum.
is pretty good. But the highlight is their cauliflowers. They do as a side a cauliflower, and it's like a petty sort of cauliflower, and they will cook that and then finish it off by grilling it on the grill, and it comes out charcoal, and you put tahini, and they have some green chilies there that you can chop up, that are chopped up, and you can put that on top.
You're making me
So,
hungry.
oh, good, 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 good. And so that would be my second. And my third, oh, that's a hard one. Can I have can it not be a restaurant? Can it be a patisserie?
Yes.
Good, because I love a sweet treat. And I gotta pronounce this totally incorrect. My French pronunciations is not great. I'm just saying.
We're all
I
learning.
get by. I can do. People, for some reason, the French understand me. I don't know what that is, because I don't understand me when I'm speaking French.
It's all good.
Um, but it's a Stoher bakery, in a patisserie in Rue Montegoy.
Mhm.
It is, some say, the oldest one, the oldest patisserie in Paris. The other people that say that their patisseries are the oldest in Paris probably have something to say about that. But it's supposedly the oldest patisserie in Paris. It is also Queen Elizabeth II's favourite patisserie, apparently. But it's the home to the best chocolate eclair I've ever had. Oh,
It's so
I'm thinking about
good.
it right now.
Yeah, and I wasn't an eclair person until I moved to France. I never liked eclairs, but here they're doing them. They're doing them right. If you're gonna eat
They're
them
pretty
here, get
good.
them here.
They're pretty good, yes. There's nothing like a good chocolate eclair. I try making them, but choux pastry is my nemesis. I
Yeah.
don't know what it is. It's the one thing that I never promise to make anybody something that involves pastry. If like somebody says, oh, can you bring over some eclairs or some chouquettes or a gruyere, the cheese stuffed ones? Can you do that? And I go, no, I can't. Sorry,
Sorry.
because they only work about one. For me, they only work about 1/10 of the time.
They're
Um,
difficult to get them to rise and make them look right. Yeah, that's
no.
difficult. It's like bread and cake mixed together. Not easy.
I I feel I have to go back to Le Cordon Bleu. I did 3 months at the Cordon Bleu doing patisserie. I feel like I have to go back just for a choux pastry course. I wonder if they have a 3 month choux pastry course. I'm sure they probably do.
You should get them to start that one up just for you, just for Andrew.
Yes, exactly, just for me.
And what tips do you have for visitors in restaurants in Paris? Because I know there's certain things that are a little different about the restaurants here in France. And there any tips that you could give to visitors about like the etiquette or things like that for visiting restaurants in France?
My two most, I think they're probably the most important tips. And it's not so much about what you should do, as in etiquette wise or anything like that. It is about what you should eat. And I do believe two of them are. The first one is the menu du jour, because you know that it's fresh. You know that it is something that is going to be, that's not normally on the menu, and it will be something that's in season. And there's nothing better than having something in season in France,
Yeah.
because that's what French food is all about, seasonality. So, when you go to a restaurant and they have their menu and their a la carte menu that's all the same and it's the same all year round, there
Yeah.
isn't anything wrong with that. But I don't want to pick a tomato salad when tomatoes aren't in season.
Mhm.
So going on that menu du jour, it's always a great thing, especially when it's like a three course for lunch.
Yeah.
That is something that I always recommend to people to do, because you're going to walk around so much. If you're here in summer, you're going to be walking around and suddenly you look at your watch and it's 11:30 at night and you're going, but it's still daylight outside. So you've forgotten to have dinner. So what you do is you have a really fabulous big lunch, just a croissant for breakfast, a fabulous big lunch of three courses, entree, main, and dessert, and then you walk it off by going to places like the Louvre, etc. And then just have something really light and easy for dinner. That would be my first recommendation, those three course menu du jours. But then the second one is my guilty pleasure. And it's how I actually find out if I'm going to like a restaurant or not.
Mm.
And that is, I go there and I have their cafe gourmand.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So I've been known to just walk around Paris often and just have cafe gourmands.
Yeah.
And so a cafe gourmand, if you don't know, listeners, is a little noisette coffee, so an espresso coffee usually, and put on a tray of three or four desserts, a little mini desserts. And it's supposedly a selection of what they have for dessert that evening, or when you come have your main meals. They're just little versions of it. And so if they can do that little creme caramel correctly, or a chocolate mousse correctly, and it tastes good, to go back there later on that evening or the next day to have a proper dinner.
I like that little dessert buffet. That's my favorite too. That cafe
Yes.
gourmand. So
Yeah.
good. And in your opinion, why do you think creatives are attracted to France?
It's a bit of a sensory overload place, and I think that's what it is. I read an article once, and it totally resonated with me about how, with the grey buildings, it was a photographer's, I mean, you would know this as opposed to me, but they said that it was a photographer's dream, all of these grey buildings, because you can photograph so many things in front of it, and this makes the skies highlight more, etc., etc. So for me, it's just a sensory overload, and I think that that is fabulous when you're a creative, because that's what you want. You don't want to be in a place that's that not that there's anything wrong with where we grew up or what we know, because the grass is always greener on the other side, isn't it? But when for things like, I grew up in suburbia in Australia, we didn't have the Haussmann buildings. We didn't have an Eiffel Tower up the road, and all of these things. And it's just an amazing sensory place to go. I think it's great for creatives in that way. It can also be a bit full on at times, and
Yeah,
something that you have to check yourself on. But yeah, I think that's what it is. It's just a sensory overload.
I completely agree. There's a lot going on here, and there's no place like it in the world. It's very special. One of the few places that didn't get blown up during World War II, so that's kind of a great thing too. We still have
Yeah.
some old things here. And what are you most excited about for your future projects?
I'm definitely most excited about Fabulously Delicious. I really am now in my second series, and I am just loving chatting with people about French food. I can't wait. I'm doing it more and more, but I can't wait to speak to more and more French people about little known things too. We discussed, I've had people talk about the fouet, which is like a French flatbread. Who knew that the French had a flatbread?
Yeah.
The galette chantaise, it's a delicious cake that's almost like a biscuit. And it has angelique in it.
Ooh.
So just finding out those things that I had no idea about. And also just really looking forward to cooking with people next year. I've got cooking classes next year here in Montmorillon. You'll have to come down and visit
Yeah.
and cook with me. And just really looking forward to bringing people that listen to the podcast here down to Montmorillon and cooking with them.
I love all of that. That's all very exciting. Now that we've made it through the plague, we can start living our lives again, doing fun things, being inspired. And where can
Absolutely. And don't worry, you mentioned plague there. There's no rats in my ratatouille.
yeah.
Just saying.
And where can people connect with you online, the name of your podcast, everything that people can find out about you?
Yeah, fabulous. So my website is andrewpryorfabulously.com, and the podcast, it's on everywhere. So Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts, and that is Fabulously Delicious, the French food podcast.
Yum. I'm definitely hungry after talking to you, and we will share all of that in the show notes so people can connect and get inspired to cook. I was never considered myself a chef before the pandemic, but we all had nothing to do whether to just cook. Like we're doing all kinds of cooking during the pandemic. So it'd be nice to learn some French tips and tricks from a local. And thank you so
Oh,
much for
amazing.
talking to me today.
Oh, thanks for chatting with me. I'll have to get you on Fabulously Delicious sometime soon, I
I
think.
look forward to it, and I can't wait to see what you'll do next.
Fabulous. Merci beaucoup.
Missy.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.